It was supposed to be a regular afternoon hot, dry, the kind of summer heat that makes you count every second until you get home, kick off your boots, and sink into that old worn-out couch with a tall glass of iced tea. That was exactly what I had in mind as I drove down Maple Hollow Road. Windows cracked just enough to catch a breeze if there ever was one. My name's Ray Duncan, and I'm the police chief in the town of Brookridge, a title I worked my whole damn life to earn. What I didn't know then, as I followed every traffic rule like muscle memory, was that two of my own officers were about to humiliate me like I was nobody, because to them, I was just a black woman behind the wheel of a nice SUV. I spotted the flashing lights in the rearview mirror, and I remember thinking, okay, maybe a brake light's out? Maybe they're on their way to something bigger, and I just happened to be in the lane. But no, they were pulling me over. I pulled to the side calmly, not because I was sure everything was fine, but because after 20 years in law enforcement, you learn to stay composed, especially when you're not wearing the badge on your chest, but keeping it in your wallet. The officers approached, one tall with a sunburned neck, the other younger, cocky in his walk like he just made detective, though I knew damn well he hadn't. "Step out of the vehicle," barked the taller one. No greeting, no reason, no ID request, just that sharp tone like I was already guilty of something. I blinked, confused. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my hands on the wheel. "What's this about?" "We need to search your car," he said, and I could feel the tension in the air shift from strange to something uglier. "Search it for what?" I asked. "I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just heading home from work." "Out of the vehicle. Now," he said again, this time reaching for my door. I don't think people understand the kind of cold that washes over you when your reality shifts like that, when you go from police chief to suspect in 2 seconds flat, and you realize the only thing that changed was how they looked at you. Not who I was. Not what I did. Just the color of my skin and the car I was in. I told them quietly, respectfully, trying to keep the peace, that I was Chief Ray Duncan of the Brookridge PD. I had my badge, my ID, right there in the glove box. But they weren't interested. They grabbed my arm, yanked me out. I didn't fight. I didn't even raise my voice. But that didn't stop them from cuffing me, tighter than necessary, and shoving me toward their cruiser. I remember the click of the door behind me, that sound slamming into my chest like betrayal. I'd ridden in the back of that car plenty of times, but always in uniform, always with purpose. Now I was just another suspicious black woman, getting booked for God knows what. At the station, it got worse. They were laughing. I could hear them outside the holding cell, cracking jokes about how even rich ones get caught, and how she thought she was untouchable. They didn't know who I was. And what hurt the most? They didn't care. Because to them, people like me don't belong behind a badge. We belong behind bars. I sat there in that freezing concrete cell for what felt like hours. No one asked my name. No one ran my plates. They just assumed. And I let the tears fall, but silently. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. But inside, I was shaking. Not just from the fear, but from the heartbreak. I'd spent my whole life trying to change things from the inside out, and now I was on the receiving end of everything I swore to fight against. Then Finalithe's door opened, and in walked Detective Julian Ford, one of the few people in the department who had my back since day one. His face twisted when he saw me in that cell. "What the hell is going on?" he snapped at the officers standing around. They tried to act casual. "She was resisting," one said. "Didn't comply with a routine stop." Julian narrowed his eyes. "You idiots just arrested the police chief." I'll never forget the silence that followed. The kind that makes you feel the air collapse in your chest. Their faces went pale. Their arrogance drained out like someone pulled the plug. "We didn't know," one of them stammered. "We thought she was just—" "You thought wrong," Julian cut in, cold as steel. "And you're going to answer for this." The begging started almost instantly. "Please, Chief Duncan, we didn't mean, please don't report us." Their voices cracked, desperate now, not bold. "We were just doing our jobs." "No," I said, finally standing. Your job is to serve with respect. Your job is to assess with facts, not assumptions. Your job isn't to humiliate, belittle, or stereotype based on race or gender or the car someone drives. Your job is to protect this community. And today, you failed so completely, it scares me. They kept pleading. We didn't realize it was a misunderstanding. No, I said again, firmer. It was racial profiling, and you will be held accountable. I turned to Julian. Call internal affairs. He nodded. And that was that. The fallout came fast. News spread through the department like wildfire. 2 officers arrested their own police chief without cause, and the chief happened to be a black woman. The public outrage was immediate. People I'd served for years rallied outside the precinct, not just for me but for every person who'd ever been treated the same way and never got a voice. Markson and Delaney, the officers who arrested me, were fired within the week. Publicly. Their badges stripped, their names all over the news. No quiet transfer. No internal reassignment. Just cold, hard consequences. But I wasn't satisfied. This wasn't about revenge, it was about reform. I called for mandatory anti-bias and anti-racism training across the entire department. I brought in outside experts to reshape our conduct policies. We started holding monthly community forums so people could speak directly to us face to face. No uniforms, just honesty. And when national media picked up the story, I didn't hide. I stood in front of those cameras and I said, "This isn't just about me. This is about every person who's been stopped, judged, or jailed because of who they are. This is about justice. And we're going to change this system starting right here." Months passed, and Brookridge became a different kind of place. People felt seen. They felt heard. Officers were more thoughtful, more present, not perfect, not overnight but better. The work was real. The pain was real. But so was the progress. As for Markson and Delaney, last I heard, one moved states trying to start over. The other? Still fighting online about how it was all unfair. But the truth? Their lives didn't fall apart because they made a mistake. They fell apart because they acted on hate and arrogance and thought no one would call them out. But I did. And I always will. Because I didn't become police chief to play it safe. I became chief to make a difference. And if that means standing up even when it hurts, even when it's humiliating, then that's what I'll do. So to anyone listening, if you've ever been judged for your skin, your name, your car, your voice, then stay quiet. Don't shrink. You're not alone. And you damn sure don't deserve to be treated like less. What do you think? Was justice served? Or is this just scratching the surface of a much deeper issue in law enforcement today? Let me know in the comments, because your voice matters just as much as mine. And together, we can change the story.